My mom tried forcing my pregnant sister to give her baby to a family friend. And when I defended her, Mom said I was always the mistake, so I told everyone her secret, then kicked her out of my house. Throwaway because my sister knows my main account and would know who this is about. I, male, 34, bought my childhood home when my parents got divorced after 30 years of marriage. Like 30 years, and then suddenly it's over. I work as a software developer at this mid-sized tech company, and I make enough to afford the mortgage pretty comfortably. The house is nothing fancy, but it's in a decent neighborhood, and I kind of like living in the same place I grew up most of the time. So here's the situation. My mom, Carol, female, 57, moved in with me as a temporary arrangement after the divorce. She was a stay-at-home mom for most of her life. She did work at a bank before I was born, but that was like 35 years ago, and had nowhere to go when my dad ended things. He'd been planning his exit for years, had a whole secret bank account and everything, while my mom had no idea. She was totally crushed. I couldn't just let her struggle, you know. She's my mom. And I have this 3-bedroom house with plenty of space, so it made sense at the time. But it's been 3 years. 3 years. What was supposed to be a few months has turned into what feels like a permanent living situation, and I'm honestly starting to lose my mind. At first it was fine. She was still processing everything, and I was happy to help her out. But lately, things have been getting really weird, and I'm starting to regret ever buying this house. She treats the place like it's still her house, not mine. She rearranges my furniture without asking. Came home last week, and my entire living room was different. Criticizes how I load the dishwasher, and has started inviting her friends over for these loud wine nights without even telling me. Last Tuesday, I came home from work to find 5 of her friends in my living room with wine glasses everywhere, and they all acted like they've known me forever. I tried to talk to her about boundaries last month, and she started crying about how I'm just like my father and how everyone abandons her. I ended up feeling terrible and couldn't even finish the conversation. And it's not like I can talk to her about getting her own place, because whenever I bring up anything related to her future plans, she either changes the subject or gets super defensive. She worked at a boutique for like 6 months last year, but quit because the manager was out to get her and hasn't looked for anything since. I've tried suggesting she look for admin work or something entry level, but she always has an excuse. My sister Caitlin, female, 30, thinks I should just tell Mom to move out, but she lives in another state and doesn't have to deal with the actual fallout. Plus, she's pregnant with her first kid and has her own stuff going on. Easy for her to say, just kick her out when she's 1,000 miles away. I know I should have established boundaries from the beginning, but it's hard with your own mother. Like, this is the woman who raised me, and now I'm supposed to treat her like a tenant. But at the same time, I'm 34 and feel like I'm living with a controlling roommate I never asked for. I can't bring dates home, I can't just relax after work, and I'm constantly uncomfortable in my own house. The breaking point came yesterday. I've been seeing this woman Sarah for a few weeks. Nothing serious yet, just getting to know each other, and I mentioned maybe having her over for dinner sometime. My mom went on this whole rant about how she's not the right type for me, and I always choose the wrong women. She even brought up my ex from 5 years ago as proof. She's never even met Sarah. I was too annoyed to really listen at that point. Do I just need to man up and have the hard conversation? How do I even approach this without causing a family meltdown? I feel like such a jerk for even writing this out, but I'm really struggling here. Sorry for any formatting issues. I'm on mobile, and this is my first time posting. Edit. To answer some common questions. No, we don't have any kind of rental agreement. She contributes to groceries sometimes, but not consistently. And yes, I know I'm an idiot for not setting this up properly from the beginning. I honestly thought it would be a few months, not years. My sister and I are close, but she's dealing with a high-risk pregnancy right now, so I don't want to dump all this on her. And yes, I've thought about selling the house, but honestly, despite everything, it's my home too, and I don't want to leave because of this situation. My dad moved to Florida with his girlfriend, who's only like 10 years older than me, and barely keeps in touch. He pays my mom a small amount of alimony, but it's nowhere near enough for her to live on her own, especially in our area. Someone asked if I've tried talking to my mom when she's not emotional. Yes, multiple times. The conversation always somehow turns into either 1, how hard her life is now, or 2, something I'm doing wrong. There's never a good time. And to the people saying I'm a doormat, yeah, you're probably right. I've always been terrible at confrontation. In college, my roommate played the same awful music every night for a year, and I never said anything. I just used earplugs. So yeah, not great at standing up for myself, especially with family. Now for the first update. First off, thanks to everyone who commented on my last post. I honestly didn't expect that many responses, and it was actually super helpful to hear. I'm not completely crazy for being frustrated with this situation. To those who called me a doormat, yeah, fair enough. I guess that's why I'm in this mess to begin with. So the family dinner I mentioned was 2 days ago, and holy shit, did things escalate way beyond what I expected. Like, we're talking major family meltdown that I'm still trying to process. I'm literally typing this at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep with all this stuff spinning around in my head. Before I get to the actual dinner disaster, I should probably mention that I've been helping my sister Caitlin research single-parent resources and stuff for the past couple weeks. Her boyfriend, well, ex now I guess, basically bailed when she told him about the pregnancy. Total loser. She's still in her final semester of nursing school and freaking out about how she's gonna manage everything. I've been looking into whether she could maybe move in with me after graduation if she needs to, which would be fine since I have the spare bedroom. And honestly, I'd rather have her here than my mom at this point. Sorry if that sounds harsh, but it's true. Anyway, the dinner. Oh my God, the dinner. So my sister flew in for the weekend. First time she's been home in like 8 months, and I decided we should all have dinner together. Mom had been acting weird all day, cleaning obsessively and making this elaborate meal that nobody asked for. I offered to help, but she kept shooing me away, saying I'd do it wrong. Cool, thanks, Mom. Caitlin arrived around 6, and almost immediately Mom started with the pregnancy comments. Like within minutes of her walking through the door, Mom was going on about how people should get married before having children, and asking if she'd considered adoption because babies need a father figure. Caitlin was holding it together pretty well considering, but I could tell she was getting upset. We sat down to eat, and things were uncomfortable but manageable for maybe 10 minutes. Then Mom asked if Caitlin had a plan, or if she was just winging it like always. Caitlin mentioned that she and I had been researching options together, and that she might move in with me temporarily after graduation until she gets settled with a nursing job. That's when Mom completely lost it. She slammed her fork down so hard it actually bounced off the plate and hit the wall. There's still a mark there, by the way. She started yelling about how we're ganging up on her and plotting behind her back. She accused me of kicking her out for Caitlin after everything she's done for me. I tried to explain that nobody was kicking her out, but that eventually she needed to find her own place because this was supposed to be temporary. I mentioned that it had been 3 years already and asked what her plan was. Big mistake. She went off about how I'm just like my father and how I've clearly never loved her and was just waiting to abandon her. She brought up every little thing I've ever done wrong since I was like 5 years old. Then she turned on Caitlin, saying she was irresponsible and making poor life choices and that she'd be a terrible mother because she can't even take care of herself. Caitlin, who is normally super chill, burst into tears and told Mom this was exactly why she never visits and why she moved so far away. Then she got up and went to the guest room. I was honestly in shock. I knew Mom could be difficult, but this was a whole other level. I told her she was being completely unfair and that she needed to apologize to Caitlin. She refused and said we were conspiring against her and that this was her house too. And that's when I finally snapped. Actually lost my temper, which almost never happens. I told her firmly that this was my house that I bought and pay the mortgage for, and that she was a guest who had overstayed her welcome by about 2.5 years. She got really quiet, which was somehow worse than the yelling, and said she could see how things were in this creepy, calm voice. Then she went to her room and slammed the door so hard, a picture fell off the wall and the glass broke. I spent the rest of the night talking with Caitlin in the guest room. She was pretty upset, but also kept saying she wasn't surprised. Apparently, Mom has been sending her these passive-aggressive texts for months about the pregnancy. Caitlin never told me because she didn't want to make things harder for me. God, I feel like such a shitty brother for not realizing. Yesterday was super awkward. Mom stayed in her room most of the day, only coming out to use the bathroom or get food. She wouldn't look at or speak to either of us. Caitlin's flight is tomorrow morning, and I'm honestly relieved she's leaving because the atmosphere in this house is unbearable right now. I don't know what to do next. Part of me thinks I should just apologize to keep the peace. But another part is Finally, I said what needed to be said after 3 years of being too careful in my own house. But now I'm afraid she's going to make my life even more miserable. Or worse, start crying and make me feel guilty again. I hate confrontation so much. Caitlin thinks I should stand my ground and give Mom a deadline to move out, but she also doesn't have to live here with the aftermath. Easy for her to say when she's flying back to her normal life tomorrow. Sorry this is so long and rambling. My thoughts are all over the place right now. Edit: a few people asked about my mom's finances. She gets some alimony from my dad, but it's not enough to live on her own in our area. She had that boutique job for a while, but hasn't worked since. She does have a sister, my Aunt Jill, who lives about an hour away, but they've never been super close. Mom thinks Aunt Jill is judgmental, pot, meat kettle. Edit 2. For those saying, I should have given her a deadline ages ago, yes, I know. I've been trying to have the conversation for over a year, but she always derails it with tears or changing the subject. I'm not good at pushing through that stuff. Working on it, though. Now for the second update. So it's been almost 2 months since that absolute train wreck of a family dinner I posted about, and first, I just want to say thank you to everyone who commented with advice and support. I honestly didn't expect so many people to read my posts, let alone offer helpful suggestions. A lot has happened since then, and I've been meaning to post an update for weeks, but honestly, everything's been so chaotic that I haven't had the mental energy to write it all out until now. So after that disastrous dinner where my mom completely lost it because she found out my pregnant sister might move in with me someday, things were super uncomfortable in the house. My sister Caitlin left the next morning as planned, and I drove her to the airport. We talked the whole way there about what to do next, and she kept insisting I needed to stand my ground this time. When I got back from the airport, my mom was sitting at the kitchen table waiting for me with this weird calm expression that really freaked me out. She told me she'd been thinking about our conversation and realized she wasn't wanted or needed in the family anymore, so she'd be moving to Jill's until she figured things out. I was honestly shocked because I thought for sure she was going to try to guilt me again or act like nothing happened, her usual moves. I asked if she was serious and if she needed help finding a place, and she just got up and walked away mid-conversation. Like literally while I was still talking. Who does that? The next few days were weird. She barely spoke to me but was constantly on the phone with people. I'm assuming her friends and maybe my Aunt Jill. I could hear her through the walls sometimes, definitely crying and talking about how her own son was throwing her out on the street. Not what happened, but whatever. Then on day 4 after the dinner, I came home from work and found her packing a suitcase. She told me she was leaving for Jill's that evening and my aunt was coming to pick her up. I offered to help her pack more stuff, but she said she'd come back for her belongings once she was settled somewhere permanent, and she didn't want to burden me further. I mean, okay. I actually felt relieved, but also guilty for feeling relieved, which is a weird combo. Like this was what I wanted, but it was happening in the most uncomfortable, passive-aggressive way possible. Aunt Jill showed up around 7 p.m., barely looked at me. Cool, so Mom's been talking shit about me to her too, and helped Mom load like 2 suitcases into her car. That was it. 2 suitcases of stuff after living here for 3 years. And that's when I realized she left almost everything behind. Like, her room is still completely full of her stuff. All her clothes, except what fit in the suitcases, all her furniture, books, photo albums, the weird ceramic cat collection she's had since the 90s. All of it's still here. There's food she bought still in the fridge. Her shampoo is still in the shower. It's been 7 weeks, and she hasn't come back for any of it. I texted her after the first week asking when she was planning to come get her things, and she basically said she'd let me know when she was ready, and that some people can't move on as quickly as I apparently can. I've sent a few more texts since then asking about her stuff, and she either doesn't respond or sends these super vague messages like, "These things take time," or "I'm still getting settled." What the frick does that even mean? How long does it take to get settled at your sister's house? I called Aunt Jill last week, awkward conversation, and asked if Mom was actually staying with her. She confirmed Mom was there and then gave me this whole guilt trip about how I need to be more understanding because Mom is going through a lot right now. When I asked if Mom had mentioned coming to get her stuff, Aunt Jill got all weird and evasive and said Mom wasn't ready to talk about that yet. So now I'm stuck with all my mother's things in the spare bedroom. I haven't touched anything because I'm afraid if I move her stuff, she'll somehow use it against me. but it's driving me crazy having all her things here. It feels like she's still around, even though she's not actually here. And the weirdest part, she's still getting mail here. Important looking stuff too. Bank statements, insurance documents, etc. I've been putting it all in a box in her room, but it's piling up. I asked if she wanted me to forward it, and she said, no, I'll get it when I come for my things. When is that happening, though? And now for the plot twist. Caitlin called yesterday to say she's graduating next month and wants to take me up on the offer to stay here temporarily. The timing would actually be perfect with Mom gone, except for the fact that Mom's crap is still occupying the bedroom Caitlin would use. And I know if I pack up Mom's stuff and put it in storage or something, she's gonna have a complete meltdown about how I'm erasing her from my life or whatever. I feel like I'm being manipulated, but can't figure out exactly how or why. Like, is this some weird power move? Is she trying to make me feel guilty? Is she planning to come back? I literally have no idea what her endgame is here. I don't even know what I'm asking for at this point. Advice, validation, permission to box up her stuff. I'm just so tired of this whole situation. I thought when she moved out things would get better, but somehow it's still complicated. Edit, to answer some common questions that are coming up. Yes, I've tried calling her multiple times, not just texting. She either doesn't pick up or keeps the conversation super short and vague. No, I don't have a timeline from her about when she's coming back for her stuff. Every time I ask, she gives non-answers. For those saying I should just pack everything up and take it to her, Aunt Jill lives in a small 2-bedroom apartment and has made it clear she doesn't have room for all Mom's stuff there. Plus, I'm not entirely convinced Mom is planning to stay there long-term, since she only took 2 suitcases of her belongings. About the mail, I looked into mail forwarding, but apparently the person has to set that up themselves. I'm not sure I can do it for her. And yes, some of it looks important, which is why I'm hesitant to just return it all to sender. Edit 2. Someone asked if I've changed the locks. No, I haven't. Honestly, didn't even think about that until now. She does still have a key, which is concerning now that I think about it. Though she hasn't tried to come back when I'm not home, as far as I know. Edit 3. A few people have asked if my mom might be having mental health issues. Honestly, I've wondered the same thing. The whole divorce really broke her in a way I'd never seen before. She was always kind of dramatic, but this level of manipulation is new. My sister thinks Mom is just being manipulative, but I'm not so sure. It's hard to tell the difference sometimes between actual mental health struggles and just toxic behavior.